But anyway, while I was filming these videos on my iPod, I suddenly got this idea. There was this ongoing thing in the Godzilla community where they'd ship or have Godzilla and Mothra together as a romantic couple. I mean, they still do to this day, but like this was especially true at the time. And it was around that time that I thought to myself, hey, why don't I create a series about Godzilla and Mothra using my figurines? That'd be so cool. Right?
And so she learned a valuable lesson to learn from your parents. The end. Whew. Well, how was that?
I didn't have any scripts written at the time, but I figured maybe I could film something similar to my iPod videos and see what happens. And that's how the pilot came about. There was nothing set in stone, there was no sense of character or what they were like, or what the story was like. It was very much improvised on the spot. Everything from Godzilla babysitting someone's children, or his children, I have no idea. Monster X mind-controlling Kaiju to kill Red King, who's also Godzilla and Mothra's adopted son. Like I said, I wanted to try to capture that same feeling and essence I got with those iPod videos I shot. Like whatever my 12-year-old mind could come up with, I'd do it. You know, it was very intentional. What wasn't intentional was the grammar mistakes.
Do they want to kill someone? 'Cause I'll beat them to a pulse. Put me down! As you wish. Wait. I should pronounce that differently.
And inconsistencies. Now, I'm not talking about in terms of characters. I'm talking about, like, things happening from scene to scene. Like when Godzilla dives off the cliff to save Red King and Mothra goes after him, she saves Red King, even though he would have been much further away from both her and Godzilla. I mean, a whole minute goes by before either of them attempt to save Red King, and that's after he's fallen off the cliff. And on top of that, she forgot that Godzilla was still falling, even though she was flying after him.
What happened to my dad? Oh, that. I sort of forgot him and... You did what?
Also, I don't mean to keep harping about this, but what exactly was Godzilla hoping to achieve? I mean, it's definitely courageous going after your adopted son, but like I said, a whole minute had passed since Red King fell off the cliff, so there would have been a lot of distance between them. But even if Godzilla were to catch up with him, what was he hoping to do? Was he hoping to break his fall, or hope that Mothra would come in at the last minute to save both of them? I mean, she could have easily gone after Red King and saved him herself. Like, if you had Mothra go after Red King right after falling, and Godzilla stayed behind to deal with the henchmen, it would have made more sense. Hell, there's a lot of things I could have done to make this make more sense. I know I framed all of this as a joke, but, like, honestly, I think I said it best at the end of that video. It is what it is. But that's not going to stop me from talking about it. Alright, that's my only rant for the video. Let's get back to the commentary.
That's help us! We need you! Oh, Mothra, what are you doing here?
When I first started working on the series, I actually didn't have an external microphone for the longest time, so all of the voiceovers that you hear in the pilot, and the few heard throughout Season 1, were all recorded on the family computer's internal microphone. And that actually remained the case all the way up until 2016, after Season 1 was already finished. And by that point, not only did I get my own iMac computer for editing, but also a Blue Yeti microphone that I got last Christmas, which I still use to this day. Back then I just used the camera audio for everything, and if there was anything that needed to be dubbed over, I just used the computer's internal mic. I thought I could make it funnier when doing the voiceovers. Most of the sound effects were done in person, with me just grabbing like a tin pen holder, just pouring everything out onto the desk or bashing it against the desk. And for certain sound effects, because I didn't know how to download videos at the time, what I do is, while recording on iMovie, pull up a YouTube video with the sound effect I wanted to use, and turn up the speakers really loud so it could be picked up on the mic. That method would actually be used a lot in later episodes. I tried to record everything in one take because I wanted to see if I could do everything quickly and efficiently, but, you know, that style of work didn't necessarily last. And honestly, I'd say it was for the best.
Guys, what are you doing? Oh, why do you want to kill me in the first place?
When I first started filming the series, I was debating on whether or not to film it with my iPod or small Sony camera I used for all my reviews and other videos. But after thinking about it for a bit, I thought it'd be cool to use my parents' DSLR camera instead, since the picture quality was way better than either. And they didn't really mind if I did. Aside from bringing it to family occasions, it wasn't really being used all that much, so I figured, why not use it? And that camera was used for every episode all the way up until episode 12 part 2. Since then, my filming equipment has changed.
This bitch has taken up so much file storage and space on my computer, on my storage tower. I mean, this thing is beautiful, I will admit, but I am done with it.
Even though the pilot was never released, the boost in quality was still apparent. The first video on my channel using the DSLR camera was actually my Gigan review from back in the day, which was actually refilmed since I wasn't happy with the original review filmed on my Sony digital camera. And yeah, even though the original review wasn't released, the difference in quality is like night and day.
Who are you? I'll tell you who you messed with. You messed with Gojira!
What did I do? I'll tell you what you did. You fucked with the Jaguar.
This is one of the many references to Monster Island Buddies. As a kid, I loved putting in references to stuff I watched growing up. Anything from movies, or shows, YouTube videos, or even video games. Sometimes they were subtle. I mean, very rarely, but more often than not, they were very blatant and obvious.
You get the comfy chair.
Fetch the comfy chair.
Come on, it's part of the Spanish Inquisition. You have no idea what it is.
I legit thought I was being clever. And this whole idea of putting in references to stuff, I'm not sure if that was because of the Shrek movies I watched growing up, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. I'll talk more about references and their other purpose in later videos, but to summarize, I definitely could have done them better early on.
I realized there was this weird dent in his head. You know, like in the Iron Giant's,
Wait, your first name is Gojira?
I've always loved making videos at an early age. Like with most people, I just taught myself. When it came to editing on iMovie, there was a lot of trial and error involved, as well as experimentation. There's actually a whole lot of unreleased videos that I made for the sole purpose of trying out iMovie's visual effects, or audio effects, or trying out new techniques that I developed. And as funny as that might sound, using iMovie for video editing, keep in mind, our family having an iMac was like one hell of an upgrade, especially when you consider that before we got the new iMac somewhere at the beginning of 2013, our family was still using a Windows XP computer. That's why all of my earlier videos were done with Windows Movie Maker. Like, that's literally all we had at the time. And even when we did finally get the new iMac, it still took me a while to transition over to iMovie, since I've worked with Windows Movie Maker for so long. Although, with that being said, as limited as Windows Movie Maker was, and by extension iMovie as well, it was certainly better than nothing. You know, you use what you have at your disposal and work with it. So our family getting an iMac later on was like a big deal back then, because it's like, it was certainly a hell of a lot better than Windows XP, that's for sure. You know, it's like drinking Coke or Pepsi for the first time in your 20s. Well, it's definitely different from milk and water. And no, for the record, like, that didn't happen. We could afford soda. One thing that I came to appreciate was, because both programs were so limited with what you can do, it sort of encouraged you to think outside of the box. I mean, that was certainly the case with iMovie, where you only had like 2 visual layers, but as many audio layers as you want. So, under these circumstances, it made you get creative as to how you wanted to achieve what you wanted to achieve. That's one thing I really appreciate in hindsight. After editing the pilot, I kind of knew early on that this couldn't really be used. I mean, even as a 12-year-old, I had standards. But even though it wasn't posted back in the day, several aspects of the pilot did carry over to later episodes. Some of the scenes were used during the intro for the first few episodes. Monster X was mentioned in episode 2.
Didn't Monster X beat him before, Gigan?
Even though he really doesn't have anything to do with the series, which just gets confusing when you think about the show's timeline. But more importantly, the idea of Monster X wanting to kill Red King and his species was transferred over to Ghidorah when I later wrote him as the central antagonist. But I'll get into that in another video, so... all in all, a very basic, very simple, but thankfully very short pilot. And that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. I know this might have seemed a bit all over the place, but like I said at the beginning, the rest of the behind-the-scenes videos will be more focused on the making of each episode. This one was just the exception. So, with that out of the way, if you like what I make, subscribe to the channel, like the video. If there was something that you wanted to know about that I didn't necessarily mention in the video, you can leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to respond to each one. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.
Come on, guys. Let's go after him. Wait, can we think this over?
Come on, let's go find a monster. Come on. Hey, wait. Can we think this over?